The night sky over the Pacific glows with silent trails of intercontinental missiles. Submarines stir beneath the waves, their positions unknown. And in the heart of Pyongyang, a single decision threatens to challenge the might of the world's most powerful military force. What if North Korea's nuclear arsenal truly stood toe-to-toe with America's dominance? Could a nation, often underestimated, hold the ability to tip the balance of global power? In this video, you'll step into a chilling scenario, one that explores not just weapons and war machines, but psychology, strategy, and the razor-thin line between deterrence and destruction. You'll witness the shadow play of submarines in the Pacific, stealth bombers crossing night skies, and the hidden cyber battles that unfold in the dark. Every chapter takes you deeper, closer to the edge of a conflict that the world prays will never happen. Stay with us until the very end, because the answer to this question may change how you see global power forever. And don't forget, subscribe, hit the bell, and join us on this journey. This story is not prediction, not propaganda. It's an educational exploration, a what-if thriller built only for your curiosity. The shadow OFDRNC. If you close your eyes, you can almost feel the weight of silence across the Korean peninsula. On one side, North Korea, isolated, defiant, armed with a growing stockpile of nuclear warheads. On the other, the United States, its military stretched across oceans, armed with the most advanced technology in history. At first glance, it seems like no contest. But in the shadows of modern warfare, strength isn't always measured by numbers alone. It's measured by uncertainty, by the ability to make an adversary hesitate, even for a fraction of a second. For decades, America's dominance has been defined by its overwhelming power. Aircraft carriers that tower like floating fortresses, bombers that can cross continents without being seen, and missile defense systems designed to intercept almost anything hurled across the sky. Yet despite this overwhelming superiority, Washington never dismisses Pyongyang's threat. Why? Because nuclear deterrence is not about winning battles. It's about convincing the other side that the cost of action is too high. North Korea understands this. Its leadership knows it cannot outgun the United States. But it doesn't have to. By holding even a small arsenal capable of striking American bases in Asia, or in the nightmare scenario, the American homeland, it creates an unspoken stalemate. This is the shadow of deterrence, not equal power, but equal fear. In the tense standoff, one question haunts every strategist. How many nuclear weapons are enough to keep America cautious? Some analysts believe North Korea has built dozens of warheads, each small but powerful enough to devastate a city. Others suggest their numbers are exaggerated. Yet the mystery itself is part of the weapon. If Washington cannot know for sure, it must prepare for the worst. Think of it like a game of chess in the dark. America holds the queen, rooks, and knights. But North Korea has a single piece hidden somewhere on the board. And that piece could flip the entire game. No satellite can confirm exactly how many missiles are hidden in mountain tunnels. No spy can guarantee when the next test will prove successful. And that uncertainty is what keeps the balance alive, but the balance is fragile. One misstep, one false signal, could tip silence into chaos. Consider the war games played quietly within the Pentagon. Scenarios where Pyongyang launches a missile across the Pacific. In these simulations, America's defenses respond instantly. Radar tracking, interceptors launching. But what if even one slips through? The horror of a single detonation could redefine the future of global security. And here lies the true heart of this chapter. Nuclear weapons are not designed to be used. They are designed to never be used. They hang in the air like a ghost, shaping decisions, freezing strategies, and reminding even the strongest military on Earth that victory can never be absolute. So, could North Korea truly challenge America's military dominance? In raw numbers, no. But in the mind, in the hesitation before action, in the shadow of deterrence, perhaps yes. Yet this is only the first layer of the story. What happens when the standoff leaves the nuclear realm and spills into the oceans, where fleets maneuver in silence? When submarines stalk each other beneath black waters, and aircraft carriers become the targets of weapons designed to sink giants? The answer awaits in the next chapter. The battle below WFS. The ocean is silent to the ear, but to the trained sonar operator, it's a battlefield alive with echoes. In the pitch-black depths of the Pacific, submarines glide like predators, unseen and unheard. The United States Navy calls the ocean its domain, projecting power with a fleet of aircraft carriers that can launch jets to any corner of the globe. Yet beneath those floating fortresses, a hidden danger lurks. One that North Korea has worked for decades to perfect. Imagine the horizon dotted with American carriers, massive silhouettes cutting across the sea, escorted by destroyers, cruisers, and supply ships. Together, they form what looks like an invincible moving city. To most nations, this is untouchable might. But to North Korea, the plan is different. It does not need to defeat a carrier strike group head-on. It only needs to frighten it, to force hesitation, to make Washington wonder if its carriers are truly safe. Enter the North Korean submarine force. Small, aging, often underestimated, but deceptively dangerous. Many of these subs are outdated diesel-electric designs, noisy compared to America's sleek nuclear-powered boats. Yet their very limitations carry a strange advantage. When hugging shallow coastal waters, where the seafloor is jagged and sonar signals scatter, these submarines can vanish like phantoms. Analysts have long noted that even a single successful strike, one torpedo, one missile launched from beneath, could cripple a vessel worth billions. And if that vessel were an American carrier, the shock would echo across the globe. Consider the scene: a North Korean submarine slipping out of a hidden base at night, running silently along the continental shelf. Above, American satellites scan, aircraft patrol, destroyers sweep the waves with sonar. But the ocean is vast, and even the best technology cannot guarantee detection. Somewhere in that darkness, a submarine waits. Its captain knows that survival is unlikely if war breaks out. But his mission is not survival. It is disruption. To sink even one American ship is to rewrite the narrative of invincibility, yet America is not blind. Its carrier groups are shielded by layers of defense. Helicopters drop sonar buoys, destroyers deploy advanced detection systems, and beneath the group, American submarines prowl, hunting hunters. The US Navy has spent decades mastering anti-submarine warfare. In open waters, North Korea's subs would stand little chance. But war would not stay in open waters. It would creep closer to North Korea's coasts, where the terrain itself becomes a weapon. This is where strategy sharpens into suspense. If the US moves its carriers too close, it risks ambush in shallow seas. Too far, and its air power cannot reach the target zones deep inside North Korea. Every mile matters. Every decision could mean the difference between dominance and disaster. But the naval theater isn't just about submarines. North Korea has tested anti-ship ballistic missiles, often called carrier killers. Their accuracy is debated, their reliability uncertain. Yet, like the nuclear arsenal, the fear they create is real. If even one of these missiles could break through layered defenses, the image of US naval supremacy would crack. America's Aegis destroyers, with radar domes scanning the sky, stand ready to intercept. But no defense is perfect. War games conducted by think tanks have shown that even the best shields sometimes fail when the skies are filled with dozens of threats at once. The ocean then becomes a stage of escalating suspense. American carriers launching jets in waves, North Korean radar sites scrambling to track them, submarines lurking below, missile batteries onshore primed and ready. Every side knows that once the first strike is launched, the response will be overwhelming. And yet, that is the point. North Korea does not need to win the battle at sea. It only needs to convince America that the price of victory would be too high. That a single burning carrier, a single crippled destroyer, would be enough to question the worth of advancing further. The irony is haunting. America's strength at sea is also its vulnerability. Carriers are massive symbols of power, but also massive targets. The very thing that gives America global reach makes it visible to every eye, every radar, every missile system. And North Korea, though smaller and weaker, knows this truth well, so the question deepens. If oceans become traps, if carriers are stalked, if submarines lurk like ghosts in shallow waters, how would America adapt? Could technology and training maintain dominance? Or would sheer unpredictability turn the seas into a nightmare? The standoff at sea leads us toward the next, even more dangerous frontier. Because while missiles and submarines can sink ships, there is another battlefield that unfolds not in the water, nor in the air, but in invisible space. A war of codes, satellites, and systems that control everything from navigation to nuclear command. This is the domain where the smallest breach could unleash the largest catastrophe. And it is here, in the silent clash of cyber and space, that the struggle grows even more unpredictable. War in the invisible arm. There is a battlefield where no soldier marches, no ship sails, and no fighter jet takes flight. It is a realm without borders, where battles unfold in silence, in milliseconds, and often without warning. This is the domain of cyber warfare, and above it, the cold expanse of space where satellites orbit like silent sentinels. Here, North Korea's challenge to American dominance takes on an entirely different shape, one that cannot be measured by the size of fleets or the number of missiles. Every modern war begins long before the first shot is fired. In the quiet corridors of command centers, networks are probed, passwords stolen, firewalls breached. For years, North Korea has cultivated cyber units that work tirelessly in the shadows. Known in intelligence circles as Lazarus Group and other names cloaked in secrecy, these teams have already proven their ability to disrupt banks, corporations, and infrastructure around the globe. In war, their mission would not be stealing money. It would be paralysis. A single cyber strike could black out parts of South Korea. A well-timed intrusion could disrupt the communications of US bases in the Pacific. Imagine, in the critical first hours of conflict, American pilots preparing for a strike, only to find their systems jammed, their screens frozen, their data compromised. The battlefield would tilt, not with explosions, but with silence, and then, above the earth, another duel unfolds. Satellites, small and distant, are the nervous system of modern warfare. They guide missiles, provide GPS for troops, and beam intelligence across oceans. Without them, America's global dominance would stumble. North Korea knows it cannot build a constellation to match America's. But it doesn't need to. A handful of missiles, crude yet effective, aimed at low Earth orbit, could scatter debris into deadly fields. Even the threat of such an attack is enough to raise alarm. In space, destruction doesn't vanish. It lingers, orbiting endlessly, a storm of fragments that could cripple communications for years. For American planners, this is a nightmare scenario. Not because North Korea can dominate in space or cyberspace, but because it can disrupt, deny, and destabilize. It is asymmetric warfare in its purest form. The giant is not felled by a stronger rival, but tripped by unexpected strikes in places it thought secure. In cyber war, the battlefield is everywhere and nowhere at once. In space, even the smallest action has consequences felt across the globe. Picture the opening hours of such a conflict. Power grids flicker in Seoul. Financial networks report anomalies in Tokyo. In Guam, radar screens go dark for precious minutes. At the same time, a warning blinks across NORAD's command screens. An unidentified launch from the Korean peninsula, climbing toward orbit. Is it a satellite? Is it a weapon? In the seconds it takes to decide, America's defense systems prepare for the worst. Suspense, uncertainty, and hesitation. These are as deadly as any missile, yet America, too, wields immense power in these domains. Its cyber command is vast, its satellite networks resilient, its ability to launch replacements unmatched. While North Korea may strike first in cyberspace, America can strike back harder. Entire networks could be disabled, critical infrastructure sabotaged, command systems exposed. In space, advanced anti-satellite weapons of the US military could erase threats with precision. The duel would escalate rapidly, spiraling from shadowy disruptions to overt acts that risk triggering global alarm. And that is the danger. When invisible lines are crossed, how do nations know when the war has truly begun? This invisible realm is also the most unpredictable. Unlike tanks or ships, cyber weapons cannot always be seen, counted, or even confirmed. A single piece of malicious code might be discovered months after it was planted. A single satellite might carry hidden capabilities never revealed until the moment of crisis. In this fog, perception becomes reality. North Korea's strength lies not only in what it has, but in what it can make others believe it has. America's challenge is to separate illusion from truth before decisions spiral out of control. And so, the question lingers. If war spreads into cyberspace and the heavens above, when no front line exists, how does dominance even apply? Is power defined by destruction, or by survival? By who can strike hardest, or who can endure longest? The clash in these invisible realms leads naturally to the next chapter, where the battlefield expands into the skies themselves. Because while codes may disrupt and satellites may fall, it is in the roar of jet engines, in the stealth of bombers, and in the dogfights above the peninsula that the contest for dominance becomes visible to all. The suspense now climbs higher, into the air war over East Asia. The SKY war over East Asia, the sky above the Korean peninsula, has always carried tension. To those on the ground, it may look calm, blue stretches by day, quiet stars by night. But behind that stillness lies an arena where every second is measured, every signal watched, and every flight carries meaning. If conflict were to erupt, the air would become the most immediate and visible stage for battle. The question is not just who controls the skies, but who dares to challenge them. For decades, the United States has built its reputation on aerial dominance. Stealth bombers that vanish from radar like ghosts. Fighters capable of supersonic speed and split-second maneuvers. Refueling aircraft that extend missions across oceans. Surveillance planes that see farther than any eye. From the Korean War of the 1950s to modern-day exercises, American air power has been both symbol and sword. Yet, in this imagined conflict, that dominance faces a different kind of opponent. North Korea's dense and unpredictable web of air defenses, stretching across mountains and hidden within tunnels. North Korea has built one of the most layered surface-to-air missile networks in the world. Some systems are old, dating back to Soviet designs of the Cold War. Others are more modern, acquired or developed to counter the very stealth planes America prides itself on. In theory, they form a shield. In practice, they are a puzzle, a maze of radars, decoys, and missile batteries that force every US planner to consider, where is the trap and where is the gap? Picture the opening act of an air campaign. In the dark of night, American bombers lift off from Guam, their wings heavy with precision-guided weapons. Fighter escorts slice through the clouds, their stealth profiles reflecting almost nothing to enemy radar. Surveillance drones already hum high above, mapping the electromagnetic landscape. Somewhere below, North Korean radar stations search the skies, waiting for the first signal of intrusion. Operators stare at screens, their hands hovering over launch keys, knowing that hesitation could mean destruction. But so could firing too soon. The suspense builds. A radar signal flickers. A shadow crosses the edge of detection. Missiles are primed. In a real conflict, the first missile fired could ignite a chain reaction that transforms the night sky into a storm of fire. Anti-aircraft missiles streak upward. American countermeasures flare in dazzling bursts. Bombers release their payloads, precision strikes aimed at silencing the very radars that just tried to find them. For minutes that feel like hours, the air is chaos, silent from the ground, deafening in the cockpits. Then, silence again, as both sides wait to see what survived. And yet, air war is not only about stealth and strikes. It is about endurance. America's air refueling capability means its fighters can stay in the fight longer, strike from farther, and return for another round. North Korea's air force, by contrast, is limited. Its jets are older, its training less advanced, its numbers small compared to the sheer scale of American and Allied aircraft. Direct dogfights would almost certainly favor the US. But Pyongyang's strategy is not to dominate the skies. It is to deny them. To make every mission costlier, every flight riskier, every commander question whether the reward is worth the danger. Now add another layer, the possibility of miscalculation. In a sky filled with drones, decoys, and radar echoes, what if an operator mistakes a civilian aircraft for a threat? What if an American strike narrowly misses its target, and the fallout spreads beyond intended zones? In the high-speed, high-stakes realm of air combat, such errors are not only possible, they are inevitable. And each one could escalate the conflict to new and uncontrollable heights. The psychological weight is immense. For American pilots, the thought of flying into one of the world's densest air defense networks tests courage itself. For North Korean crews, the fear of overwhelming retaliation hangs over every decision to launch. The air is not just filled with machines, it is filled with doubt, adrenaline, and the knowledge that every move is recorded in history. And then comes the climax of the aerial theater, America's stealth bombers piercing deep into enemy territory. These aircraft, designed to evade detection, symbolize the cutting edge of dominance. If they succeed, command centers, missile silos, and key infrastructure could be crippled before the ground war even begins. But if one were to be detected, if even one were to fall, the shockwave would ripple across the globe, rewriting not just the battle, but the very myth of American invincibility. Today, as the smoke clears, the skies would tell only part of the story. Because even if dominance is won above the clouds, the conflict does not end there. The most difficult question still awaits. What happens if war crosses into the homeland? If nuclear threats turn from theory to reality? If decisions in distant rooms unleash consequences for millions? The final chapter is not just about weapons, but about the fate of nations and the razor's edge on which peace itself rests. The final ESL, the world holds its breath. The seas churn with fleets, the skies roar with engines, and the invisible wars of cyberspace and orbit continue without pause. Yet all of these pale before the single decision that now looms. Will nuclear fire ever leap from theory into reality? This is the ultimate shadow that hovers over every move, every strategy, every word exchanged. And it is here that North Korea's true challenge to American dominance reaches its most dangerous point. In the chambers of Pyongyang, leaders weigh survival against annihilation. In Washington, commanders pore over maps, knowing that every strike brings them closer to the line that no one dares to cross. Nuclear weapons are not tools of battle, they are tools of bargaining. They exist to stop wars, not to fight them. Yet the closer the confrontation draws, the greater the risk that fear, miscalculation, or desperation will turn deterrence into disaster. Consider the scenario. A North Korean missile test arcs higher than expected, its path uncertain. Alarms blare in Allied command centers. Is it a signal, a bluff, or the beginning of something irreversible? Within minutes, US defense systems respond, interceptors lock on, and warplanes rise into the night sky. At the same moment, in bunkers beneath mountains, North Korean crews prepare for orders they hope never arrive. The world teeters, suspended between seconds. The terrifying truth of nuclear standoffs is that dominance loses meaning. The United States may have thousands of warheads, each more advanced and powerful than anything North Korea possesses. Yet it takes only one, just one warhead slipping through defenses, to shatter a city, to end millions of lives, to rewrite the balance of global power in a single instant. That is why even a small arsenal can challenge a giant. Not through strength, but through risk. Not through equality, but through terror. And if that moment were ever to come, the consequences would not stop at the borders of the Korean peninsula. Fallout drifts on the winds. Markets collapse in seconds. Alliances strain under pressure. Rivals watch closely, recalculating their own positions. The ripple of a single detonation would stretch from Asia to Europe to America's own shores. Suddenly, the concept of dominance becomes irrelevant. What matters is survival, yet history offers a lesson. For all the brinkmanship of the Cold War, for all the near misses and crises, nuclear weapons have remained unused in conflict since 1945. They endure as threats, as bargaining chips, as shadows that keep humanity from tearing itself apart. This restraint, fragile as it may be, suggests that even in the most extreme confrontations, leaders know the price is too high. North Korea, however isolated, understands that using its arsenal would invite destruction. America, however powerful, understands that striking first risks a chain reaction that no shield could stop. So we return to the question, could North Korea's nuclear arsenal really challenge America's military dominance? In raw numbers, in technology, in reach, the answer is no. America's power is unmatched. But in strategy, in psychology, in the razor's edge of deterrence, the answer is yes. Because true dominance is not about overwhelming might. It is about control. And when even the strongest hesitate, when even the most powerful pause before acting, then the smaller player has already changed the game. As the story closes, the suspense lingers. The skies remain watchful, the seas restless, the networks alive with silent battles. For now, the shadow of deterrence holds the peace. But how long can such a fragile balance endure? And what new challenges, new nations, new technologies, new rivalries, will rise to test it again? This is not prediction. This is not prophecy. This is a story, an exploration of what might be, of how power bends under the weight of risk, and of how the future depends not on weapons alone, but on the choices of those who command them. That if you've stayed with us through this journey, you already know, curiosity is our best defense against ignorance. Subscribe, stay with us, and join the next exploration. Because the question we've asked today is only the beginning, and the answers are still waiting, in the shadows of tomorrow.